sugar is causing damage to your organs and making you obese. The sugar in grains, fruits, and vegetables, which we have at each meal, are causing our health issues. And these are the healthy sources that I'm talking about. I haven't even touched the candies, chips, chocolates, and fast foods. If you don't solve your sugar problem, you're risking diabetes and losing your eyesight or having a heart attack. It's actually that serious. I'm going to start off by talking about my hip issue, right? Because that hip issue helped me to understand that I was actually living my life with an inflammation problem. And once I figured out that I had an inflammation problem, I started to do some research to learn how can I solve my inflammation problem. And what I found out was that sugar causes inflammation. And then from that, I learned that I was overeating sugar. And then from that, I found out that a keto diet would help reduce my inflammation and solve my hip issue. Wellness warrior. Understanding the problem helped me to find the solution. And as soon as I knew that I had been overeating sugar and that overeating sugar had caused my inflammation, I started to pay attention to the sugar that I ate. And I also paid attention to how I felt after I ate. And I actually changed the way that I was interacting with food because I learned about sugar. Now, what that meant was that when I ate a potato and I felt inflamed, I paid attention to that. And then the same thing happened when I ate a tomato. I felt inflamed. Paid attention. Then I had some peppers. Felt inflamed. Now, because I was paying attention to anything that caused me to have inflammation, and I was verifying, by the way, that in each of those meals, I was under 20 grams of carbohydrate, because that's what you need to do to be living a keto lifestyle. And it only happened when I wasn't actually eating potatoes anymore. It only happened when tomatoes or peppers were in my food. I started to look for a connection between peppers and tomatoes. And what I learned was that I actually have a problem with the solanine in nightshades. Now, I couldn't have figured that out if I wasn't paying attention and keeping track of how I was feeling and did that little bit of extra research. This is the thing, right? Is that if I know what's causing the problem, then I can actually pay attention and help myself. And so now I learned something new, right? I learned that there's other reasons that we need to be careful with vegetables, because it turns out that fruits and vegetables don't actually want to be eaten, right? Because peppers are a vegetable, but tomatoes are a fruit, right? These things don't want to be eaten. And I've been learning more and more over the years that there are anti-nutrients, that there are chemicals in plants that are there actually to harm the animals, including us, that would be trying to eat them. Now, I could go on and on and on about food-related stuff, but I want to change the direction a bit because not everybody started this journey the way that I did. And so the toxins in the food might not be the reason that you need to be careful or that you're thinking about being careful because you didn't start from a pain or a health issue like I did. So what happens if you started your keto diet because you were trying to lose weight? Like, what would be your reason? What's the underlying reason that we need to pay attention to? Okay, well, insulin resistance is the reason that we gain weight. Insulin is the hormone that tells our body to store fat So store any carbohydrates and protein and fat. That storage process is happening because insulin is telling your body it's time to store fat. Well, sugar stimulates insulin max, right? Like the maximum stimulation of insulin that we all live is coming because we eat carbohydrates. Protein has a medium impact on insulin stimulation, and fat has the least stimulation of insulin. So what does that mean? Right? What are we supposed to be paying attention to there? Right? That means that it isn't the calories that you eat that cause weight gain, because sugar actually has less calories per gram than fat does. Fat has like so much more, right? And so that means that the calories in, calories out story that we all grew up on is a lie. Now that piece of information led me to learning a few more things that I didn't know, right? First of all, once I understood that our body doesn't care about or understand calories, which if you stop and think about it, if I focus on calories, what's my best bet to lose weight? Outside of eating less calories, it's exercise, right? It's getting out there and running around and pushing heavy things around and doing a lot of cardio, and right, like it's pushing my body to burn energy, because if I burn these calories, I'm going to lose weight. Well, actually, the truth is 80% of what you're going to weigh is controlled by the food you eat. Exercise, sleep, and stress all make up and I'm sure there's more things than that, but those are the three that I think of right now, make up 20%. So we've been lied to. And then even on a keto diet, I still hear people talking about they need to get to the gym, they need to burn those calories, and it's not reality. You do need to get to the gym. So let me just make that clear. You should be going and working out because your body needs to stay flexible, and you need to stay strong to move this body around, but also to do your activities. But the weight that you will weigh is not controlled by the exercise you're doing as much as it's controlled by whatever you decide to eat. And that was a huge unlock for me, because number one, I hate working out in the gym. I can't stand it. And number two, I work a full-time job. The amount of time that I actually have to dedicate to working out isn't a lot, right? So I've lost 70 pounds almost 6 years ago now. And I've kept that 70 pounds off, not because I'm exercising, Wellness Warrior. I've kept that 70 pounds off because of the way that I eat. And, at the very beginning, I was nervous about that, because maybe once a week I have the opportunity to go do something that's extremely strenuous. And sure, I can go for a walk every once in a while. But when you talk about calories in, calories out, the amount of calories I eat compared to the amount of energy that I burn on a walk doesn't compare. And initially, I wasn't sure if I would be able to keep this weight up. Now, 6 years later, I know I can. Why? Because the calorie story is a lie. And when we know that, well, we're motivated to understand why it's still pushed to everybody as the truth, right? Because I know it's a lie. And I want to know why. In my comments, I still hear wellness warriors talking about the calorie count. I still hear wellness warriors worrying about exercising as a part of their weight loss process. Again, worry about exercising to keep yourself strong, but it's not part of your weight loss process, right? And what I learned when I did a little bit more investigating about why are we still telling people that exercise is going to impact the weight you weigh, what I ended up learning was that there's money in getting me to believe this calorie in, calorie out story. You see, when I eat sweet tasting fruits and vegetables, that opens my brain up to junk food. So to cookies, cakes, ice cream, chips, all that stuff. The sweet tasting vegetables triggers my brain to push insulin because sweet is dangerous, right? Too much sugar in the system is toxic. My body, as I'm sitting here right now, has about 5 grams of glucose floating around in me happily, right? My brain is functioning well. My muscles are functioning well. All my organs, everything is happy with that 5 grams. Now, for clarity, in the last 24 hours, I haven't had any veg. But still, my body has 5 grams of carbohydrates floating around in me. How did I accomplish that? Oh, well, that's easy. Your body makes glucose, and it actually makes all the glucose that you need. But yet they tell us that we need to eat fruits and vegetables. This is important. It has to be on our plate. They tell us to eat those because they're the lowest calorie thing that we can eat. It's going to help us to stay thin. Lie, 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 lie. It's a lie. And those starchy vegetables, you know, the potatoes and carrots and beets. Oh, and the grains, the rice and all the bulgur and the quinoa and all these things that are, it's healthy and it's good and it's starchy and it's going to help you to have the carbohydrates that your body needs, because your brain is going to die if it doesn't get carbohydrates. And that's kind of true. Like our entire body would die if it didn't get carbohydrates. Thank goodness that our body makes what we need, right? Those starchy things that they push us to eat that we think, well, they're not sweet, so that can't be contributed. It contributes. Your body doesn't care what kind of sugar it is. It just cares that it's sugar. Your brain reacts to the sweet stuff because it understands the extra level that's happening there when something tastes sweet. Oh no, that means fructose is coming in. And I think the part that I find kind of hard is that when they're talking to us about that cephalic response to sweet taste, they don't help us to understand that. You see, glucose doesn't actually taste so super sweet. That's why they make table sugar, and that's why they make high fructose corn syrup, and that's why they extract sugar from fruit and call it fruit juice, which is actually just the sugar that they're taking. That's why they want that fructose in our food, because fructose is hella sweet. Fructose is what's actually triggering your brain of, ooh, something sweet's coming in. Your brain is trying to protect you because, first of all, can't have too much sugar in the bloodstream. Second of all, fructose is only metabolized by the liver. And so it needs the body to jump on this, first of all, because the rest of your body can't do anything with it. Your liver needs to get to work. Your liver needs to get the stuff out of you. And if we only do it in season, once in a while, as a treat, so your liver has to work a little extra hard, maybe for 2 months. But when we're doing it all the time, we're hurting our bodies, and we are prepping our bodies and our minds to crave the junk food. The cookies are sweet, with fructose, by the way. The cakes are sweet, with fructose, by the way. All these lovely processed foods that we love, that we eat, they are sweetened with fructose. Whatever version of it, whatever they want to call it, the thing in there that they know is causing our brain to go crazy and want is the fructose, which is also damaging our livers. Now, when we know that the calorie lie is a way to keep us buying garbage, I know for myself, it helped me to change my reasons for eating. Because I used to eat because it was fun, right? My favorite supper to have was pizza, right? Easy, because I wasn't making it. I was ordering it. So easy and fun tasting and satisfying. And, getting that brain hit of the dopamine and the serotonin and all the lovely feelings that you get from eating pizza. And it was something that I could eat several times a week. I just loved it that much, right? That's eating for fun. But what happens when we eat for fun? Oh, of course, my weight was rising. Oh, of course, my health was deteriorating. Of course, this was not a good thing for me to be doing, but it was easy. And of course, pizza is meat, it's cheese, it's tomatoes, and it's bread. There's nothing there that actually, right? Like we eat bread for every meal. What difference does it make if it's in, right? We have no problem with tomatoes. That's a fruit, right? I mean, when you talk about schools, those tomatoes are seen as the meal, is the vegetable. So when kids have ketchup and they count that as a vegetable and a fruit and what, so I didn't have a problem with it. But knowing that piece of information, I changed Wellness Warrior. I allowed myself to start eating to build my body and to fuel my body because I now understood calories in, calories out is a lie. I now understood that eating these junky foods is not for my benefit ever at all. Not even a little bit. This was a trap. The information about how food impacts our bodies is known. And we're not focused, right? We're confused. We're confused, right? We don't know what to eat to be healthy. It's because we're not given the right information, but it's known, right? We aren't given the right information because companies are invested in us eating the wrong foods. Because companies, right, they actually create hyper palatable foods. Right? Did you know that? Did you know that companies go out of their way? So they create not workshops, what do you call it? Groups that come in and they taste the foods and they tell them, oh, this version I like it, but this version I like more, but this version I don't like as much. And the companies have set these things up in an order where the salt, sugar, and fat content is different and slightly, and they can measure because they know which one is which, and they choose the one where the person's like, oh, this one's amazing. Why? Why does our food need to be hyper palatable? Right? It's so that we'll overeat them, Wellness Warrior. Hyper palatable is like code for irresistible and addictive. That's what hyperpalatable is. They want us to not just eat one cookie or a few chips. They want us to finish the bag, buy another bag, finish that bag, buy another bag, finish that bag. And do you know what they don't care about? If we end up in the hospital later. Do you know what they don't care about? If we're sick and unable to go to work. If our lives fall apart. But they care about us eating, not just eating, they care about us overeating their garbage. When you know you're having a problem, it's hard to ignore what's contributing to the problem. If you can figure out what that thing is. If you can't figure out what the thing is that's contributing to the problem, then you can't see what's happening right in front of your face, right in front of your eyes, right? How many people not only have one bowl of ice cream, I'll have two. I know. I raised my hand. That was me. How many people not only eat one chocolate bar, they'll eat two. I'm raising my hand again. That was me. How many people will have pizza until they're stuffed? Okay. We're doing these things because we don't believe that this can change. We don't believe that this can change because we don't know that we're being tricked. That the information is there because the companies are using it to get us to overeat. But we don't know because we're not doing the research, right? Because the information is there. I found it online because I did the research. Finally, I did the research because my hip was hurting that bad. But most of us don't start keto because of pain. And so it's promoted as a weight loss diet. So we do it as a weight loss diet, believing we know what causes weight loss. Calories in, calories out, exercise. And we're not doing the extra research to fully understand why it works. And I need you to do that research, Wellness Warrior. Because I want you to see what is causing your problem so that you can make real, informed decisions about what you eat and about how much sugar you allow to enter your body. Because I was allowing that sugar to enter my body. I was the one eating the food. That's me. That's 100% me. Did I know at the time the damage I was causing? No, I didn't. But I was still eating the food. I don't want you to make the mistake that I was making. Because if you make that mistake, then you're going to live the negatives. And, well, it sucks when you get to the negatives because at some point your body can't manage anymore. And it absolutely sucks when you get to those negatives. When I was in pain, that was not what I wanted to be. That was not where I wanted to be. Right? When my family members, with their diabetes, with their limbs and eyesight and all the things, I'm sad for them. It's not where I want them to be. We cannot change this until we accept the impact that sugar has on our internal organs. We can't accept it until we understand the impact it has on our insulin levels. When I know that sugar is toxic and is causing my health problems, I am much more likely to actually keep track of what I'm eating. But if I continue to believe that fruits and vegetables are healthier than meat, fish, and poultry, then I will allow myself to eat the garbage without tracking. I'll allow myself to eat the fruits without tracking. I'll allow myself to eat the vegetables without tracking. Wellness Warrior, I want you to understand something. This is not only about the garbage. Yes, when I eat the fruits, vegetables, and grains without tracking, I'm pulled towards the garbage. But the fruits and vegetables and grains and nuts and legumes and all the plant matter that we are eating is actually part of the problem. And so we absolutely, at minimum, should be tracking to make sure we don't go over our 20, or if you're like me, 18, or whatever your number happens to be, because that's the other thing you figure out when you track. That's the other thing you figure out when you understand that sugar is a problem, is that the metabolic damage that you might already have equals you're less than 20, which is the other thing I learned. And I only learned that because I was paying attention. I only learned it because I was tracking. I wanted to be healthier. And so I was looking at it. Right? And so, if you don't realize that your carb number isn't actually 20, then what could happen to you is, even if you're keeping your numbers just up to 20, but you're not going over 20, you're not in ketosis, your body's still storing. If my body's still storing, I'm still on a problem. That one action of tracking your foods, or not tracking your foods actually. So let's say you don't track. That one action of not tracking your foods is what's going to lead to carb creep, right? Is what's going to lead to you chasing, right? That's why it's so important to track. Now, there are going to be people who are going to say that tracking takes too much time, right? I don't have time for that. I want you to consider, if you're ill, the time you will lose at the doctor's office. If you become diabetic, the time you will give to taking medication each day. And if you get on insulin, now you need to be measuring out amounts and trying to give it to yourself. And by the way, the writing on those, you would think that they would understand that people who have diabetes often have eyesight issues. The writing on those little containers when I would try, and I didn't have problems to see when I was trying to help my grandmother. It's not easy, right? Is weighing your food really that big of a deal versus being sick? Or maybe I don't have time because I have small children and they need to eat right now. And so you guess about what you're putting on your plate rather than weighing it, right? But then you get sick and you can't play with those kids the way that you want to play with them, right? Or heaven forbid, you aren't there for them anymore. Is taking time to log your food really such a big deal? I don't think it is. I don't think it's a big deal. I think that putting that scale and just doing it because it's going to be better for you, because it's going to give you data. And I think that's the reason we don't do it, is that we don't want the data, that we're still scared to know that I have to take my carbs down a little more. Oh man, I have to take them down a little more. I'm still putting too much on my plate. And that's part of the problem, Wellness Warrior, because if I'm scared to know that I'm still putting a little bit too much on my plate, then I might be kicking myself out of ketosis so I might not be in ketosis. I might not be in the situation that I'm telling myself that I'm in, right? I'm eating this keto diet, right? But I'm not getting results. I want to point something out, Wellness Warrior. We eat typically the same 4 to 7 meals each week on rotation, right? And most apps that you're going to find allow you to copy meals from one day to the next, right? So really, the bulk of the work that you're going to do is at the very beginning, where you put in what the meals are, right? You put them in. That's the bulk of the work. After that, copy paste and make little adjustments. So here it is for you. Step 1, buy a scale and get used to weighing your food every single day. And you're buying the scale and you're going to have an app. Those are the 2 things that you're going to do. Step 1, right? And just weigh your food every single day and start learning about your app, learning to use your app. Step 2 in the app is you're going to enter your meals completely, right? And you're going to enter your meals in a way that you put each component in separately. So you're not going to just say, oh, my chicken rice meal, and then put a count. You're going to say, well, it wouldn't be rice. It would be vegetables. But you're going to say, this is my chicken vegetable. So it's chickens with how much chicken I have, how much broccoli I have, how much salad I had that day in that meal. And then you're putting it in that way, Wellness Warrior, so that you actually make your life easier. Because if I 99% of the time have that chicken, salad, and broccoli meal as a meal, but then one day I decided to, instead of having broccoli, have asparagus, I can still copy the meal over and erase the broccoli and put in how much asparagus did I have. And if I do that consistently, or maybe the chicken is the variable that's always the same, and the vegetable changes every time, but you're probably going to still have typically a few vegetables that you have, and you can just switch them in because the apps remember. And they even tend to remember how much of it you have. So you're just looking to, maybe try your best. Again, you have a scale, put the same amount on the plate that you normally put. So if I usually put let's say 200 grams of lettuce in my salad, then I put 200 grams of lettuce every time. I put my bowl on the scale, I weigh in 200 grams, and yay, I'm done. Make your life easy. Step number 3. Enter your food into your app. So weigh and enter it into the app before you eat them. Again, I'm eliminating the excuses. You're going to know how much you ate. And if you choose to put too much on the plate and overeat it and kick yourself out of ketosis, you're going to know. And I can't solve a problem I don't know about, Wellness Warrior. I need to understand the problem. And if the problem is I actually don't know how much sugar I'm eating, I'm giving you guys today the answer to that. This is how you actually know how much sugar you're intaking, right? And once you know how much you're intaking, you can now start to problem solve. Is this why I'm stalled? And now that I'm logging everything I eat, and I start noticing that, oh my goodness, every time I have broccoli, I have like really horrible bloating. Well, now I maybe could make a decision about whether I keep eating broccoli. You're not going to be able to make adjustments if you're not letting yourself see the reality of what's happening. So if you have too much on your plate, you take some off. If you find out that a vegetable isn't working for you, you can take it out of your rotation. If you want to stay as healthy as possible, you need to realize that the food you eat determines how healthy you'll be. This isn't a calorie story. It's a carbohydrate story. And even more than it being a carbohydrate story, each of the vegetables have their different plant toxins, have their different oxalate levels, have their different anti-nutrients to try to protect themselves from being eaten. So, if you're overeating carbs, and not only your health is going to suffer, but you're actually going to be vulnerable to resuming eating garbage, Wellness Warrior. I want you to use the 3 steps above that I just mentioned, right? And get into the habit of tracking so that you can be aware of the carbs that you're taking in. I want to hear from you, right? I want to know if you track. Has it helped you to stay healthy by tracking? Have you had any carb creep or cravings? I want to know. So I want you to put that in the comments so we can talk about it. One thing that I want to just do is recognize all the people that have made it to this part of the video, because you're letting me know that your goal is to improve your health, right? And the questions are actually where the gold is, right? And you're still here. And I want you to put prioritize health in the comment section. So not in the chat, in the comment section. And you could be highlighted on the screen like one of these guys that are on the screen right now, one of these wellness warriors, right? So I just wanted to make sure that I say that because I love the fact that we got all the way to the end of the video and we got through those questions. Congrats to everybody who's putting their health first. I want you to understand that we need to know the truth in order to do better for ourselves. There's a video that I'm linking today is going to help you to get past any hesitation that you have that weight loss can't work for you, right? Because again, if we believe these lies, right, that our genes are blocking our weight loss, or that eating healthy is just too hard, right? That if we believe lies that we're told by these companies, we're not going to get to the results that we want. So that video is going to be the key to getting you on track with keto. It's linked in the description and it's going to be at the end of this video. I want to thank everybody for coming by. Talk to you all again next week.